Kristján, we've just had a wonderful event in the morning here at County Hall. How did it go for you? What's your perspective of the morning we've just had?
It was a great event. It was like full of energy. A lot of people in HR wondering, how can we start to use AI more at the workplace? And I just think like that's the question that's on everybody's mind. Like almost everyone in the room raised their hands when we were asking, like, how many of you use AI every single day? And that's a little bit higher than usually. So these are folks who are like, they know what it is. They're excited to learn more. And yeah, so it was full of energy.
We've been ChatGPTing for like 2 years now, haven't we?
Yeah.
It was quite interesting to see people in the room saying almost universally to say they've been using it at chat, but then not kind of taking it to the next step, which is automating process. What did you identify as the main barriers behind that?
So there are a couple of things. I mean, first of all, people are just like, they don't have time. They just don't find time. They're too busy doing stuff. And because they're too busy, they just don't allocate the time to actually learn how to set up a process and automate it. And so the only way to actually solve that is to break the task down into smaller chunks and just like take one problem, one process, solve it. And then you see these hours come back to you and you get more time. And that is really the path forward for those who've been successful. It's just grounds up, building it up. And I think a lot of people are kind of relieved just being able to lead with like a certain plan, a simple plan where it's just take one problem at a time, solve it. You learn so much from doing it yourself, and then you take on the next one.
Yeah, that's it. It's the like you can't drink the entire ocean in one draft. It's taking a small sip on a thing that is just annoying you. Let's put a process into that and then just learn from how it goes. And it will be painful first time round, I assume. I mean, you have to anticipate that you're going to make a few stumbles on the way.
Yeah.
Have you got sort of it would be interesting to know whether there's a community of people that are part of the 50 Skills Network that potentially could provide that type of support. Is that something you've created or think about?
So it's sort of happened organically. So it's quite interesting. We're seeing our customers post like, hey, how do you guys post this and that? And they kind of started creating their own kind of chats on social and chatting about it and sharing. And so we actually want to foster that a lot more. So instead of if people build something in the product, if they build a workflow about how they do onboarding in an aviation company or fast food or whatever type of industry it is, they should be able to privately share it to somebody else. They're not sharing like any people that have gone through the process or any sensitive data. They're just sharing the process so somebody else can duplicate it. And we're starting to build out this template database of just best practice processes.
Okay, I've got a product idea and you implement.
Yeah, I mean, because people like they want to have a head start. It doesn't matter what it is, and either they prompt it or they just have something to go with. But like they want to see like how does somebody actually automate this type of process?
Right, hang on. This is the idea, okay?
Yeah.
You need to incentivize this private public publication.
Yeah.
And the way you do that is that you basically give a credit allowance for people whose work is then duplicated by other people. And that can be then returned to getting a cheaper sort of subscription. But I really do love the idea because it feels like it's a community vibe. But it reminds me also how a lot of the early collaboration tools worked. The Notion templates, stuff like this. People will learn from others rather than learn from the vendor. It's like the vendor creates a space where that learning takes place. So I think that could be a very powerful thing to institute.
But another thing on this note as well, and this is a takeaway from the event as well, like this AI in general, it's giving us all more, the ability to do more type of work than before. It's giving us more agency. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if it's like you never knew how to design, now you can do designs. You never knew how to code, now you can build products. You never knew how to build a process, now you can build a process. And it used to be other types of people that did that, like the technicians or the designers or whatever it is. And I think what is interesting about that is it's not just about having templates and best practice and sharing. You also just want to be able to prompt stuff. Like you want to go into a product and just say, hey, build me this type of process. That should be able to find if there is a template out there, the best ones, and apply that or build it from scratch. And I think we're getting to this stage where we're seeing some of these, best products in the world, fastest growing ones. They've really tackled this in a smooth way. And so I'm still missing to see that in HR. I don't know anyone in HR that goes, oh, my system works the same way as best products in the world that are out there. Mm-hmm. And I think once we crack it and we make it easy enough for people just to say, hey, I want this, and it will actually get created and it will actually work the same way, you'll start to see that same magic that's happening now with chat-based AI when you ask it to write whatever you want, and it's almost there.
Yeah, and I think one of the best ways people learn is you carbon copy something that's there and then you modify it rather than start from scratch.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of software development works that way. Where you literally copy past a lot of code in there, or you don't deploy that, but you mess around with it before you shape it to what you want. A lot of people are very interested in implementing workflow automation, but it takes time, it takes effort. You need to apply resources to it. They need to generate the business case. Have you got any advice or tips on how to do that part of the story?
Yeah, and it's a big part of most people taking the decision of implementing something. Map up how you're doing it today. Roughly figure out how much time you're spending on it, you as an individual, all the people in your org as individuals. Roughly put a marker on salaries and other types of costs are there. You have a number. How much does this cost you today? This task, this many times, or these tasks, whatever it is. Take a look at anything you're looking to implement. If you're implementing it and you get a 10% increase or 20 or 50 or whatever number you think is there, or the vendor you're working with, whatever, you'll actually see the benefits. It's as simple as that. And you can deduct from that the cost of the vendor and the services and whatever. And you can even, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can just go, look, if we get 10% or 20%, this is already paid off, or multiple payback. And I think it's like with AI, it's literally like the easiest way to build a business case than ever before, because in many cases, you're literally like, you're looking at a workflow of how you did stuff before turn-based, like something came in and you waited for a human to review it and sent it somewhere else and they did something, to real time where an AI will just solve that like right away. It doesn't have to go the 4 other places before. And that is the easiest ROI report to write up. And so that is the framework. There's a ton of stuff out there about it. You can ask an AI to do it for you in a chat-based thing. But that is something that should go with your recommendation to your management board or the budget committee or whatever you're working with, because this is what they want to see. The hypotheses of what you think will happen. And the good thing is a lot of these tools out there, they can help you see what is actually happening. Some of them will literally show you how much time and benefits and stuff you get from everything that's running through it. So I think, I think it should be core. If it's not doing what you think it's doing, and there's a good number saying like, it's great to get something like a 10x. If you spend 1, you're getting 10 back or whatever. I would say 30 or 40 to 100 is okay. But like if it's less than that, if you're spending a 70, you're getting like 30% increase or 20, I don't know if it's worth it. So I think it's like, there's a bunch of these benchmarks, but building these reports has never been as easy.
Yeah. And I would also say, even the process of marking down how you're currently doing it and calculating the cost of that is probably the bedrock, because people don't know the cost of an inefficient process, because you've either inherited it or it's evolved, you've got used to it, you may have even got good at it, but you're not measuring the cost of doing it as you're currently doing.
No, and they always forget the cost of people like other than themselves. So it's like if you're doing something, but the way you do it is just throw it to Jane or Jenny or whatever, and they need to solve it. And it's your problem is gone, but it creates friction across the org. That is the hidden cost of so many processes.
With regards to the 50 Skills Icelandic company, why do you think, how do you describe the adoption rate of AI within Iceland, home country, versus your experiences of other European countries, the Netherlands and the UK and so on? Can you provide some cultural contrast there?
Yeah, I think it's similar. I mean, Nordics in general, and Iceland included, is pretty tech savvy when it comes to new technologies, and kind of famous for building nice products like the Spotifys of the world, or now Lovable, kind of fastest growing company from Sweden. And I think there's a lot of nerds, kind of engineers building. Oftentimes we have a higher proportion of maybe engineering capabilities putting into products rather than sales and marketing. But when it comes to Iceland, I think the main benefit of having started there is that it's a small market. So you're kind of able to actually test out things really quickly and get feedback and work really closely with customers and really meet with them and ask them, like shadow them, like shadow somebody in their work and go, how do you actually do this? And go to the workplace and sit with them and see how they solve stuff. And then you go, oh, so if we would do it this way, like that matter? Like, would that be better? And getting that feedback and then building that and seeing it work. And I think we've done that feedback loop quite often. And that has been so valuable. And then seeing kind of and that's kind of, I think, why we have comfort of taking it and just scaling it to multiple countries at once, worldwide. And because I think that formula just works, but you've kind of been able to have a snippet view of how they do it in aviation, to supermarkets, to fast food, to hotel chains, to whatever, and see what works where and what doesn't.
Yeah, fantastic. Kristján, you give a great presentation again. But the one slide that always strikes out to me that I thought was very interesting was the most common type of automation in the HR. I do remember that slide.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what is the most common automation that HR wants to do?
So we had a research. It wasn't a survey. We just checked what are people building, like what are people actually building the tool, and we summed up like a bunch of the workflows into like categories. So like onboarding was a big category, employee feedback was, employee requests was a huge category, event registration, and then you kind of go down with offboarding and learning and whatever it might be. But the part that was most interesting to me, it wasn't that people were mapping these things, how they're building it. It was the final category where we couldn't group it together, because the reality is people have so many unique things that they need to solve themselves. Like a 40 people company does it differently than a 400 people company that does it differently than a 4,000 people company. Same problem. And so we're just seeing like thousands of these uniquely built processes for unique problems that somebody would see, they wouldn't necessarily relate to it. And that's the part that I think is the magic. It's kind of like an Excel spreadsheet. Like we all use spreadsheets to solve problems, but like we use them differently. And and I think like most people don't go in a spreadsheet and just download a template. They know how to use the tool to get stuff done, and that's the magic. So it's like, for me, that was the big eye opener. It's not the grouping of. I mean, there are some groupings there, definitely. And a lot of people start with like a common problem, like they want to like something simple, like they want to automate a birthday request for all of the employees or something. There's low value, but low hanging fruit, just to see how it works. But like, just having a tool where you can go, oh, I'm doing this frequently. Let's build a process and just get rid of the manual stuff.
Yeah. How would you advise a person who is wrestling with this? Like, how do you identify the problem to be solved? So number one, we already know it's got to be a small thing. Don't do the big thing straight away. But let's say I've got 10 different small things. Like, how do I decide which one is the one I go for?
Yeah, I would go for the one that you are most interested in solving. I think curiosity is a keeper. I think it's something that's really important. And I think if people are really like passionate about something, just pick that. I mean, it'd be easy for me to say, oh, just sort it by high importance, low effort. But like, how do you know? Like, it's going to be, so just, I would probably not start with onboarding, because onboarding is like way more complex than most people think. And it integrates with a lot of products. And it's like, it's sort of like a high effort, medium effort kind of process. But something like automate a parental leave process, automate a benefit request process, automate a employee request or complaint process. Like, it's not as many complex steps as you think, but lead it with passion. Whatever you think you're most interested, like your stomach is just like, I want this to go away. Pick that.
The AI landscape, Kristján, it's obviously extremely complex. And I think because of the nature of AI's kind of impact within software development, increasingly it will get exponentially more complex because there's so much sort of out there. How do you sort of sort through all of that noise? Like, how do you even make the selection between different vendor choices?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
I would say beware of vendors that don't allow you to try before you buy. Beware of vendors that don't show you the product and how it looks like and aren't able to show you use cases. Beware of vendors that are not able to tell you where they like host their data or their AI services that they use within their products. All of this should be upfront, should be accessible. And if you ask those questions, you should be able to get them. Beware of like lock-in deals that tell you to sign a contract for a year or 3 years before you can even do it. Like, the reality is things are moving fast. And so if you want to, get on with things, you have to try a lot of things, do it on small experiments, see what works for you. If you like it, double down. If you don't like it, throw it out, and make that experiment part of who you are and what you do. And the ones that are trying to lock you down, sure, they might be an incredible vendor, but there's also a good chance that they're doing it because you might not like it, and they're just trying to lock in some revenue for it. And I understand that from like a business model perspective, but like in the world that we are in today, I think you're more safer if you go for stuff that you can experiment with on your own problems, see if that makes sense for you, and and if you can't do it for free, like do a smallest pilot you can think of. But we are now in a mode where we need to start rethinking our tech stack. The way we did things before is changing, and so you need to, like, instead of just doing something, like wonder like what potential tools could help me with that. I mean, you can ask AI about it, you can search, you can ask your friends and everything, but like it's really about experimentation. Like try different things, see what works, and map it up. I split these things into 4 categories in the talk that I did. Like it's chat-based stuff like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever tool you want to use there, or lesser known tools that might be a fit for you. It's just the product that you buy online. Like if you're an HR, like you probably have an HRIS or an ERP or ATS or whatever it is. Like there's a bunch of categories. All of those tools should have AI embedded. If they don't, they're probably working on it. If you're impatient, you can integrate it with a workflow builder of some sort to amplify it, but like that's one of the tools. The other 2 types are somewhat newer. One of them is just build it yourself tool. Like there are products like Lovable out there and Gamma and Runway where you can just give it a prompt and it will create you like a beautifully designed employee handbook, whatever it is you have in mind. Like you don't have to, you can do a lot of content way quicker than before. And then finally, the 4th one, that is the workflow builders of the world. Like map up your work. Like add AI if it belongs, where it belongs, to really get control of your processes. Because even if you're not using AI in those processes right away, like the change that's coming to the workforce is that instead of hiring people to just do tasks, you're going to be hiring people to map and govern processes that have AI agents within them to do those tasks. And the role of the people in the orgs will be a lot about governing that, controlling that, building that, mapping that, understanding that, improving that, iterating on it. Just like you've seen with every single plane flying, like it gets better over time because the data is there. That's what's happening and that's what's coming.
Yeah, I think it's a new type of work. It's basically, they call it humans in the loop, but I actually think humans may be above the loop because you have to oversee this at a system level rather than at a task-based level.
Yeah, and there might be humans in the loop still. Like, so you definitely have human on top of the loop, like for sure, to see the whole thing. But in some processes, like we had a great question at the event. Somebody said, hey, my employees don't want to be in an interview that's being recorded and put in like transcribed because they're not going to share. Like, of course not. Like, why would a person, like they're talking about sensitive stuff with their supervisor. They're not going to share that in a recorded way. Never. Like you can introduce it. If you introduce it, they won't share that sensitive information there. So what will happen instead, I think, is that after an interview like that, there's somebody with a responsibility going to put down the right meeting notes that both people agree on, and that's going to go into the systems. So you're going to have humans in the loop doing certain types of tasks where they belong, but all the redundant, manual, boring stuff that is copy pasting between systems that tech can do today, that's going to go away. That's going to get automated for sure.
Yeah, fantastic. What are we going to do? Final couple of questions, Kristján. What are we going to do with the time saved? It's one of those, I think, coming challenges within business. Because for me, there's a risk that if we just, assume that, hey, of course, we'll end up doing higher value work, actually no, what might end up happening is that next year you just be told to do more efficient work and the human component will simply shrink.
Yeah.
How do we make sure that the human space is still protected? Like, what is the consciousness that that automators need to think about when they are making this type of progress?
Yeah. So I wish I knew the answer to it, right? I loved a suggestion that you brought up today, which is like maybe people should have, if they increase productivity by 50%, maybe they should be able to use that to reskill themselves. And I think maybe there'll be some consensus around orgs that if they increase productivity, that won't mean that they will let people go. I'm more of a realist. Like I do think that what will happen is that like when you introduce a motor to a boat that used to have 12 people picking up oars, the oar pickers will go away and the motor will be there instead. But what will happen is that there will be other types of jobs on the boat, a lot more, a lot different. Like when horse carriages came along, disappeared and the car came along, like all the blacksmiths were like, what's going to happen with our jobs? And nobody talked about car dealerships at the time, who vastly outnumbered the types of jobs for blacksmiths. So I don't know the answer about the new jobs that will create it. I think people that say they do are just messing. But I think it's a mixture of a social framework of some sort, like the one you're mentioning, where you can give people credits or benefits or some positive encouragement of actually making the work better, like not just automating their work and then what? Like, of course you want to reskill them. And I do think, like, for most of the orgs that I've talked with, I haven't seen any of them, not a single one of them, do layoffs because they automated something. On the contrary, what they've done is that they've started to automate stuff, and the people who are responsible for that, they were asked to do more because that is what they want across the board as a whole. And they're starting to think how they can kind of shift things around. I'm not saying that's going to be the case for everybody, but I think you are going to automate some things away.
That actually is, I think, a very powerful addition to the 50 skills story, I think, to be able to describe cases where automation efficiency has been gained, but also redeployment and reskilling has occurred as well. I think that would help. It would help kind of create a positive vision of automation and a rebuff, if you like, some of the more pessimistic.
Yeah, we should definitely share more of those. Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. Final word, Kristján. Like, what's your message to the people who might be watching this? Like HR people in people ops. What do they need to know about the future of workforce and process automation?
I would just say, like, AI is coming. AI is coming whether you like it or not. And I would definitely try things, reskill yourself, try the tools that are out there, get acquainted with chat-based AI, use it for most of the things you do every day and get better at it. And then once you've had that capability, start to play with whatever tools are out there that you think could be helpful for you in your work. And you will start to see more productivity. You'll start to feel empowered. You'll start to get you'll definitely get a seat at the leadership table, because I actually think that this AI transformation thing is going to be the tech revolution that can actually bring HR to the C-level seat. And because you're talking about the person that has access to every single employee in the organization. You can turn every employee into a super worker if you give them the right tools. And nobody's better positioned than the HR chief level people that can do that. So I think it's like, if people do it the right way, we're going to be seeing a lot more responsibility and interesting times ahead from HR.
That's a fantastic closing comment. AI is actually the bridge for HR to become that strategic function that it's always wanted to be. Kristján Kristjánsson, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.